right, everybody, get ready to be inspired. Today, we have a visionary in the world of children's literature. Our guest is an award-winning illustrator and author from Iran, now based in Kansas. With over 20 picture books to her name, her breathtaking art has earned top honors from the Bologna Children's Book Fair and the Society of Illustrators. A passionate advocate for diversity and storytelling, she's currently an assistant professor of illustration at the Kansas City Art Institute, where she's lifting up the next generation of artists. I would like to bring the amazing illustrator of Book's Big Adventure, Rahele Jomepour-Bell, onto the Picture This podcast.
Adam, thank you so much. That was a great introduction. Thank you.
So we have one book together, and I'd like to talk about that process from your standpoint. When you got that manuscript, what were your immediate thoughts? What made you attached to it? And where did you see the potential?
First of all, thanks everyone for just being here and listening to our podcast. Wow. It just when I go back to the time that I received the manuscript from Paula Wiseman at Simon & Schuster, I was pretty, because I'm still a big fan of that imprint and the books Paula published. Very artistic.
We already miss Paula.
Yes, exactly. She's pretty strong recognizing the artistic part of the storytelling in a picture book. And I admire the book that she has published. And of course, I knew your name, Adam, from the books that you have been publishing, and you had in the time that I received that manuscript. I remember I had my 2-year-old daughter, which I was constantly looking for different books, picture books on the shelves in Ames Library, which is a pretty big, amazing public library in Ames, Iowa. And I remember one of the books we found, it was about that child, finding the artistic point of view. That became one of our favorite books that we read with Daria. And then from that time, I know your name. It stayed with me. I was thinking, who is the author of this book? I don't remember pretty well, but I remember the name of the book helped me. It was with the brush stroke. It was
I Don't Draw.
Yes,
I
right.
Color.
Yeah, right.
And this is, so I think I may have talked about this on an episode before, but I went to art school for a little while. I graduated from Tisch School of the Arts, and I don't draw anymore.
Your words are full of, imagination and pictures. That's, what I got from the manuscript I received from Paula. And I was saying the story about the book and about the library as a space that the story is happening, and the librarians, those are the people I love in my life. And then when I was bringing my child to the library, public library, I always, talking to the librarian. Most of the time, she went to the book place for the very young kids, and I was sitting there and sketching. And then that became, one of the big inspiration for me when I received the manuscript. I said that, yes, I want to work with this because this is a place most of the time I'm spending my time here. And what was the better chance in that time, right? And then from Simon & Schuster, of course, always I wanted to work with them. And then I started to, work. And of course, that book is a teamwork. I'm pretty, I appreciate everyone that I got help from the librarian in the Ames Library. I was talking to them. They showed me the backdrop, the back scene, the place that they gather the books that they don't want anymore. And I was just telling them, I'm illustrating this story. And I need more picture. I need the reality, help me. And they were so kind. And all that process, I can talk to you about it.
Did they tell you about what they do with those books?
Yes, right.
What does Ames do with their books? I'll tell you what my library does if you tell me what yours does.
I remember that the librarian told me that what they do, they send a lot of their books actually to the schools that, like
Excellent.
school district in the Story County. And then, like, I remember also they said that they're sending it to they have a program for the, migrants and asylees in Iowa. And then they also donate those books to, like they have this kind of like free classes for teaching English to those people. And then they do that. They do donate those books to the, teachers that who are helping. They all are volunteering, and these are free programs. So yeah, that's what I remember the library does in
So,
Apes.
so the librarian that got me thinking about what happens to books when you're done with them, her husband has an old red truck, like a 1940s or 50s era red truck with wood panels on the back. So they pile books into the back of that truck and they take them to the park. It's the same day every year. And families who need books, who can't afford books on their own, can go to the park and just shop for free books. And
I
she goes
love
around to
that.
all the local schools and collects the books that they're getting rid of. So that got me thinking about how cool is it to be the new awesome book on the shelf? And then how does the book feel like when it doesn't? And
Hmm.
and thinking about that journey that a book goes on and how cool it is to bring that into a classroom and turn that into something that you talk about in the classroom and making it like engaging the students, right? Like how great is it for a bunch of, 7 or 8-year-olds to try to figure out what is the best thing to do with these old books? And then maybe that becomes a project where they can go to the librarian and say, we've come up with these ideas and present ideas and come up with ways that they can donate books or refurbish books or
Hmm.
give books back. So yeah, so that was kind of where that came from. And it's a really fun little thing that you can do in the classroom.
I love that idea. The picture that you draw in my mind, you were describing with that red truck. Oh wow, that's amazing. That's a
Yeah.
scene of illustration in my mind in a
There
park with kids.
was a version of the book where that was the ending story,
Hmm.
but I wanted to take it beyond that because like if it's just handed to somebody from the truck there, you don't get to see that really great illustration that you brought in at the end, where it is one of the few books on the shelf for a young reader who obviously loves our work and has collected out all of our books on their shelf somehow, which is a great little Easter egg that you can find. And then the other cool thing, was it your decision to put under the dust jacket, put book as the book under the dust jacket? That is so amazing.
I remember just like when we were, of course, I work with amazing, just the only one, Lauren Lane, as the art director for
Oh my
this
God,
book.
yes.
That was like I was also one of the thing that I was just like thrilled. It was Laurent Lane, reaching to Christy at the cat agency, my agent, and then, like giving this manuscript thinking that Rahele would be a good fit. Such an honor. But I remember when I started to, he is always like being very inspiring. And he was telling me, Rahele, the book is the main character of this story. And when I was talking to him, I don't remember completely. I don't want to say that, no, that was my whole idea. But because I know that Laurent always sharing the, like the source of, he's a big source of inspiration for me by just like throwing out some words about. And I remember, I think that we talked about it, he was specifically telling me that I want you to give life to this character. So I was thinking about the label around of the book also. He told me that, what about like if it would be, something like a scarf or something? But then I was thinking that, oh, nice. Yeah, I love it. How about a papillon, like
Yeah.
a bow on it, and then it would be the label.
It's so distinctive and the colors, I mean, you live in Kansas now. I won't mention that the colors are, gold and red that match up to a certain football team out there, but it's so noticeable when you hold it up. And when I do school visits and I hold up book and we send book on a journey around the room, right? So
Mm-hmm.
book gets to go on adventures, and we get to talk about how you integrate with books and with illustrations in books and characters in books. It really becomes a fun activity, a fun classroom activity to talk about books and talk about, like, what is your favorite book? Okay, what adventure would you go on with that book? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
that's your favorite book. Maybe it's a story about fish. Well, are you going to go on a underwater adventure with them, or are you going to give fish a trip to outer space? And not just the characters, you get to take the whole book. So it's like a class field trip for all the characters in the book. And then it just extends that story in a meaningful way for those students to come up with their own ideas, right? And take your characters and draw them. Yeah, so it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, just like again, like it's been my only chance so far that I'm an object becoming the main character of the story, that most of my books are focusing on, human or children being the main character. But that's actually my only picture book that is the object having, like the life and, living the life. And just like me, I want to tell this also, me as the child living in Iran in the era of, like hard life that time, war happening between of Iran and Iraq. Hardly you could get, nice, beautiful printed books, a lot of, cheap paper books. But I remember I had some of the friends of my mom bringing some English book from, outside of the country. And it's just like, I was just like smelling the colors there, and the hardcover I used to have a lot of paperback, cover books, picture books. But I had just like one or two. I could just like hug them. I remember I was hugging them or smelling the papers and the ink in it and the bright colors. And just like I want to say that the important part of the book for me, it is one of those objects that became part of my identity, right? Books became my identity and who I am today. So for me, it's pretty important, the look of the book, the cover of the book, the paper type of the book. So when this story came to me, I was thinking that I wanted to be like, picture it. This is a book that if a child just like grab it from the shelf, they can hug it. They can just like hug it and squeeze it into their arms and
And
chest.
not just the child, if an author of that book wants to hug it and has on
Yes,
occasion
right.
given a
The
book a hug, like if
librarians,
that book
right?
can hug you back, it's yeah.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about connection to books and to your art, and where did that start for you? Did that start back in Iran, or was that something that developed later?
Sure, as you might or a lot of people probably don't know, I was born in 1979, a year after revolution happened in Iran. And then those, like bad people invaded Iran somehow, and then war happened. A lot of good things just disappeared. Everything became from colorful became black and white. I remember even, like from the people getting poor and poor, a lot of people didn't have any more like colorful TV. So we had a Japanese sharp small TV with a yellow case, and then everything was black and white with 3 channels. That's it. 45 minutes animation for kids time. That was it. So most of my time, I can say that fortunately it was having all building the worlds as a child for myself. I was spending reading books. And my mom always told me that I'm not going to buy you a lot of clothes or toys, but instead you can ask me always to buy books. So books, very big part of my life. So everything that
Wow.
I didn't have in the real life, I could imagine or reimagine times and times, rereading the books that I loved. When I grew up, I learned that this is a job I can do. First, I was thinking just animators, they do the books. So later I learned, no, that's actually, author, illustrators, they make or create books and publisher teams. So that became, like big reason for me that, I want to be part of the forming and shaping the identity and personality of human, the little one in the future when they get big. I want to be part of it.
Now the helping shape the older ones too. with your classes. So do you, I mean, obviously you are an educator for students at the college level. Do you go into schools for school visits to support your books as well?
I think that that's mostly for the author or author illustrators.
My experience when I first started doing school visits was always this kind of perception that it's about the author, right?
Right.
And really, when you talk to librarians and teachers and PTA members, and please comment yourselves below if you think I'm completely wrong. But what I've always been told is that it's really about getting that creativity, fostering that creative part of it. And your illustrations are part of the literature. My book
Right.
doesn't happen without your illustrations. And there is that visual literacy component that we talk about, that authors talk about, that you can come in and speak to at a whole different level that most authors can't. So yeah, like I would love to hear about you getting into some schools. So people who are looking for somebody to come and talk who's got a really good story, please reach out to Rahele and ask her to come to your schools.
Sure, I would love that. I
Especially
have
if you're
done
in
some,
that Kansas area, right? Like
yeah,
not too far from Kansas City, all the local schools, reach out.
sure. Adam, I have done some of the presentation on book reading for the, like kids in the libraries. I have done that. Or book event, book signing even in the bookstore. Or for my own child, like school, classroom. I've been there. I don't call it the big school visit. I haven't done it yet. Do you usually reach to the librarian at the school or the
So
principal when you
so
want?
typically it will be somebody reaching out to me.
Yeah, that's what I have heard that too.
Librarians, depending on, like, all school districts are a little bit different.
Hmm.
And then the individual schools might be different. So I've had librarians reach out. I've had PTA. So sometimes it's the PTA who brings somebody in, and they're usually coached along by the educators
Right.
of, here's some people that we know, here's people with, fun new books or good programs. And yeah, so it could be any number of different people that reach out to you.
Hmm.
And it's just really about having a good series of programs that you can bring to the school. So yeah, here we go. We're not talking about picture book lessons right now. We're talking about school visit ideas. So I have different programs based on different books. So for instance, my book, I Will Not Eat You, is a very character driven story
Hmm.
where the main character has a very, very specific want. And when he gets what he wants, he realizes it's not what he really needed. So I have a whole program about creating a character and how you give them something to want and then you take it away from them. And that's the
Hmm.
whole program. We really spend a lot of time talking about that and build characters together. So me and the school or the grade levels that I'm talking to, we build a character together in that program.
That's
Then I have
amazing.
I have another book called This Is a Good Story, where I talk about protagonists and antagonists and giving them kind of like a plot, right? And that story, This Is a Good Story, is about hero and heroine, and
Hmm.
it talks about conflict. And so the book talks about all of those things.
Right.
And then I have another one where I talk a little bit more about the the simplicity of just doing something,
Hmm.
right? So I use all different books. So that's the one that I'll use books adventure on because it's a very simple story. It's about
Hmm.
going on adventures and the things that happen to you while you're on adventures. In the presentations, we talk about creating an adventure and having a goal, right? So what is our goal? Okay, we're going to try to find gold, right?
Hmm.
Thing for kids to want to do, find gold or discover a dinosaur, whatever our adventure is going to be. Well, what problems can we put in our path? Because we don't want it to be a very short adventure. It's not like, oh, we're going to find gold. There it is. No, what
Hmm.
problems can you encounter? So we go over that, and that becomes a whole school visit. But on the other side, for an illustrator, when I watch illustrators give their presentations, it's about being creative. So we talked about I Don't Draw. The whole point of that story is that you can be creative any way you want, right?
Right.
And which is kind of the same message that you give is like, it doesn't matter how you want to be creative, like be creative, express
Mhm.
yourselves. And you can come from a place where your TV is in black and white and you can see color where there isn't color. And
Mhm.
you can use it in a way that maybe somebody who doesn't think about those things all the time, right? That little
Right.
splash of color can mean so much if you come from
I love that.
this kind of place. It makes me think about Schindler's List, the movie Schindler's List, and not the whole sad
Exactly.
story, but like the little girl in red, that
Yep.
splash of color, that little piece of hope that
Mhm.
you see, that
Yes.
difference that you see becomes that message. And that's, for an illustrator going into a school and you have all these kids in front of you, all these students in front of you and
Mhm.
educators in front of you. And the message that you're bringing is creativity and
Mhm.
expressing yourself with color or shape or however it can be way bigger than anything I can do, because I'm not going to take a circle and turn it into anything. A circle can be pizza, the sun. Like as an author, I can come up with the words for what a
Mhm.
circle can be, but you can demonstrate visually right in front of them, turning a circle into 30 different things. And that's amazing.
That would be amazing, and engaging the students. That would be the cool part of it, to come and draw. So, Adam, I have this question because I know a lot of creatives, artists, picture bookmaker, they have this question too. Now I'm questioning you for the
It's all right. We
first
can
time.
flip the script. This is good.
Great. So if let's say that like it would be my first time school visit and I want to do it. So how do I do it? Do I put like a presentation template or example on my website and then put my contact information and say I'm interested, hey, librarians or school, call
So
me. How do I start as the creative person of the
So
book,
as a creative
as the
person,
artist part, like art part. That's what I mean. You're creative too.
as the creative person, it all starts with a thumbnail sketch. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna put on my artist hat here. Sorry. Here we go. Adam in the artist hat. You have to picture this. The hair's pulled back, the artist hat is
Hmm.
on. It's a floppy old Renaissance style artist hat. It starts with that thumbnail.
Hmm.
What are you passionate about that you think can be something that you talk about regardless of the age of your audience?
Hmm.
I want something that you can talk to kindergartners about, first graders, second graders, fifth graders, high school students, and even bring to your college students or postgrads
Hmm.
and say, here's a concept that I'm passionate about. And it can be as simple as we talked about a shape, right?
Hmm.
How do I create a character, or how do I show motion
Hmm.
in a static drawing, right? Very, very, very simple.
Right.
And we as people who have had to do that know there's 7, 8, 9, 10 different ways to show motion, right? So like just off the top of your head, give me 2 ways that you can show motion in something you're drawing.
Emotion, like I usually repeat, like if hands or feet, repeating like the animator does that by putting layers of
Stacking
those
them up.
films.
Yeah, stacking
Yeah,
them
but
up
I
a little
do
bit.
show
Yeah.
it in one image all together, like different, several legs running,
Yeah.
or the hands does that, something like that. Or some of the line swashing,
Yeah.
something
So,
like
and
that.
the nice thing about using lines kind of swashing is you get to
Hmm.
see it, right? I have an episode where I talked to an author who has a really great book where she talks about the beat, and in the illustrations is the text for the beat, thumb to the thumb to the thumb, and that
Oh, I love that.
is part of her story, is that beat, right? Janae Brown Wood. So she has this beat, this rhythm to her story that the illustrator puts in there and then shows it kind of on that swoosh. So it shows
Hmm.
the beat kind of rolling and going through. So in when you create your idea, you start with that thumbnail and then you say, is this something that I can do multiple different ways, right? So like
Hmm.
showing motion is something that we can do multiple different ways. Showing sound, and that's a crazy
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Showing sound is
Yeah.
something we can do multiple different ways.
Right.
So is
Mhm.
this something I could do multiple different ways? Is it something that a 6-year-old and a 16-year-old will be able to understand? And once you have that, you say, okay, which of my books speak to this in some way?
Relate,
And then,
actually.
yeah, and then you take it and you put something on your website. And
Mhm.
then I reached out. I reached out to librarians and said, hey, I'm Adam. I'm an
Mhm.
author. I do school visits. Here's my program. And I would love the opportunity to come in and give my program to your students. And that's, yeah, that's kind of what you do.
And then probably it will be the word of the mouth, like librarian talk to each
Yeah,
other and they know each other and they just like, hey, call that person.
that's
Probably
kind of the
starts
way
from
it
somewhere.
happens. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
right.
get some quotes, you put the quotes up, but
Hmm.
really it is word of mouth. And I might not have 7,000 people listening to the podcast yet, but we're getting a good number of people per episode. And this episode will come out during the school year. So yeah, hopefully we get a little traction and somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, let's I'd love to by this point, I'm sure you've come up with a brilliant idea for a school visit. Let's jump
Oh
in.
yeah, I have it. I already have it. And by, your point, the notes that you gave me, I have pretty good idea now. I'm gonna write them
Yeah.
down.
And the other thing and part of what I'm trying to do with this podcast, and again, please comment your ideas and suggestions. We need
Yes,
them.
please.
But the other thing I'm trying to do is everything that I do, I want to give educators something to bring back to the classroom. So what I do at a school visit doesn't end when I walk off the stage. It ends when the educator decides they've had enough of using the stuff that I've given them. So I have some downloads. I have some materials that I'll leave at the school that they can, use for classroom activities related to what I'm talking about. So being able to take that, 45 minutes or half hour of or hour of the here's your author and it's really big and, and lots of energy, that take that back to the classroom and say, all right, now what we're going to do is this step. So remember what
Hmm.
Adam said, we're going to do this next. And then you
Hmm.
build off that. You give them that tool, and that tool then jumpstarts their ideas or it bridges into something that they already have planned. So being able to give them stuff to take back to the classrooms is huge. At least it is for me. If they don't want to use it, like they have lesson plans. Educators are very prepared.
Yeah,
It's the parents that are never no. Um, at least me.
I
At least
agree.
me. I never knew what to expect when my kids came to me. But yeah, like being able to do those kind of things and have those
Hmm.
things stacked up for them to use if they want, right?
Yep.
Is huge. And putting those
Yeah.
things on your website, like here's some drawing tips or some things that are already on your website that they can use in the classroom, gets
Hmm.
people going and seeing who you are, getting to know you better is big because like you have some wonderful, wonderful stories. Let's get into that. I want to talk a little bit about your cultural books, right? And just how you express yourself through that and what those books mean to you.
A lot of times that the books come to me have somehow they're involving some of the social issues or like big part of it that, and I love it. I love, like to have some sort of like visual problem solving coming from me, my side, in the layers of illustration or pictures in those stories. A lot of times I try to make that's my goal. Just like if the reader, read the book, I want that reader having some sort of like no filter connection with the pictures. And the pictures stays with them. And then maybe when they get older, they don't remember the book name, the title, but they remember the picture, some specific spreads or pages of the picture book. And then that goal bring me how I can do that. I found this I don't want to call it trick, but this solution that if I bring my lived life experience to the art that I'm making, I can touch the heart of the reader or I can tickle their emotion. that's when I'm successful, or I call myself or my picture book art successful. That's when I'm happy. So I think that the cultural background of me as the artist also has a big role in it. Like the details that I pay attention, it's come from the, Persian rugs, lots of details. It's a garden of the, mystery. As a child, I was spending lots of time imagining myself going to that garden in the carpet or the rug and finding those details. So I love bringing those details to my artwork. I think
It's
that,
amazing.
yeah, these are just personal connection, bringing the personal life to the artwork. Each one of us have different background, and each one of us have the secret layers of that cultural background we have. A lot of my American students, they say that we are American, all we know is game and Disney. I said, yeah, so I didn't grow up that way. So if you did, that's part of your culture. Bring it to your artwork. Make it special that
And
way.
it's a little bit of a cop out for them to say
Hmm.
that. Look, I grew up in this country. I had the benefit of my parents exposing me to cultures all over the world, all over this
Hmm.
country. As an American who grew up in the United States, we had a Persian rug. It was in our dining room under the table. I still remember the little bit of, fringe around the outside, the red border, the geometric shapes, and how they came together on that rug. And like, I mean, I probably spent a little bit of time under the table, but not that much, but like those kind of things, textiles and
Hmm.
rugs and clothing. And you talked about it at the beginning, how you were born at a time where there was this transition from kind of a Western kind
Hmm.
of look and feel to the society, to something that lost a lot of that color
Hmm.
and freedoms. So, being able to find them in something like, like a rug or saw, and finding it where you can,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
that's an amazing thing to do. And for those of you who can't see, she has a behind Rahele is a sign. It says reading is resistance, but
Oh
art
yeah,
is
that's Danielle
resistance too.
Mayer's
Yeah.
artwork.
Yeah, art is resistance too, and art is textile and and clothing and all
Hmm.
of those things.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I think that's
right.
a very cool resource for you.
Exactly. Like I'm thinking that the culture background is just not where you're from. It's not your genetic. It's just like the objects that you have been living for years with it, right? That's why I say that book as the object becoming part of our identity. It is also part of our culture, becoming part of our culture. Like the rug that we stand in it, or the table, the wood texture of that table, the smell of it. It's all being part of our culture. The culture, I think, that's our identity as a person. So I think, yeah, that's pretty, like it depends on how you want to just like explain the cultural background. But part of it is the place that we come from, but big part of it, I think that's the memories and the objects that we have been and the people we have been living with.
So do you spend time thinking about um diversity when you choose something to work on? Like
Yeah,
is
right.
that something you're conscious about, or does it just happen?
It's interesting. No, I can say that it's conscious. It's being conscious. Since I moved to the United States, before I moved to US, I even didn't think about it. In Iran, I think that I can say that it's a country mix of different cultures and different people with different look, because it's it's becoming one single part of Persia now today as Iran, the name Iran. But we still have different people, different color palette of people's skin, or different tribes, different languages, even, like Turkish, Azeri, like people. Kurdish, or even Arab people south of Iran. The north of people of Iran are having blue eyes, like fair skin. It's just mix of interesting thing, but still, I didn't think of, diversity is pretty important. Like when I came to this place, US, like I noticed, like other subjects people are talking about it, marginalized people or people with less voice, their voice is not that much, like it's hidden, or a lot of, people of color. I didn't think of that. Just like I had to make myself knowledgeable, about these things. And I'm so, so amazed that I had this opportunity thinking about these things. Before that, because of a lot of oppression from the government of Iran, I think that I can call my world was very small and lots of censorship is happening. I even couldn't express, like a lot of sexual differences in my artwork as the visual artist, not picture book maker, because of censorship. And then a lot of times, if you go back to my art, even my picture books the characters are animal because I didn't have to be worried about anything, right? Animals are representing human life. So,
Yeah, I have the same thing when I write books. It's a conscious decision a lot of times for me
hmm
to
hmm
like I have to force myself to put people in my books
right.
sometimes
Yeah.
because uh because it can cause problems.
Right. And I'm so happy that this is now a subject of knowledge that you have to do research and be conscious about it. Um, I think that's pretty important thing in this century we live to make it normal in the future for the future generation. Not normal. I mean, like just not being a subject, even thinking about it in the future,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Something like we are helping it. We are being part of that help for the
so
future
we need to
support.
make a conscious choice now. And I
Yeah.
had this discussion with Matthew Winter, who's an amazing librarian. If you're not familiar with Matthew, look him up. He's got an awesome podcast. Matthew and I talked about diversity is a choice. And I don't mean to be diverse. It's like you said, to even think about it, right? So when you sit down with anyone or to do anything, you have to make a choice to not do it the way that you have always known to do it. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? You could just be by yourself at at a coffee shop. Well, you're by yourself at a coffee shop. Are you smiling? Are you looking at people? Are you making eye contact? I went out to pick up some breakfast this morning, and I was in the Wawa, our local convenience store, and two gentlemen walked by me, both around, I'm going to say in their 60s. And one of them, eyes down, didn't like just like staring at the ground. And the other one with his head up and smiling. Right. And that's just where they are right now. But it's a conscious decision to choose not to be that person or to do that thing. And diversity
Exactly,
is like
right?
that. You really
Yeah.
have to think about it. You have to consider it and whether or not you do anything about it. We as people right now have to consciously think about it so that our children can think about it a little bit less and their children a little bit less and turn it into something that's just as natural as walking around,
hmm
being yourself.
Yeah, I just want to say, bring this different, like comparison. Like my child in Washington State, she didn't bring this question to home when she was in the first grade. She said she didn't even talk about it. So it means that there was like unconsciously accepted like every kid from every culture, background, look. But here in the Kansas area, she came home and asked me why I don't have blonde hair in the second grade. Like not a big difference of the, age gap. But I mean, like, so is still the topic of talking. And when she brings this question to home, and yeah, I think that my decision bringing diversity to my picture book is it's conscious. And I have to think about it. And I do read about it and then decide if my main character child, I want it to be mutual, I want it to be a girl, I want it to be a boy, I want it to be from the different look, what kind of look I want it. I need to think about it and just like a
Yeah.
lot of time I also, make sure that I share my decision with my art director and editor to make sure that this is going pretty in a good right direction.
So before we finish, I know you've got a new project that you're working on that you're very excited about. So can you give us a little bit what's up next for you?
Thank you so much, Adam. So you're so nice to asking me this question. Yeah, I'm so excited that I just finished the artwork for the Sweetest Lemon, the book name that I'm working with Arthur Levin. And it is a book about the story is happening in Iran, Isfahan, one of the ancient city of Iran. And the story is written by Daniel Nairi, and I'm so excited. I'm just finishing the book cover for it, and next year it's going to be out.
I can't wait to see it and read the book. I mean, if I'm gonna
Thank
buy
you.
the book, I'm gonna read the book.
Thank
It's
you.
an addiction. It is an addiction. So
For
the
me
last
too.
thing is, where can we find you online?
I'm pretty, like present in social media, Instagram. You can find me like, Instagram and LinkedIn. I love being present in these two platforms
I'll
right
make sure
now.
we put your links so people can look below or at my website and see where to get in touch with you. And I just want to thank you so much for being part of the Picture This podcast today. It has been a delight to have you.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here with you and your listeners.